Welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. My name is George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. I hope you're having an amazing week. And as many of you know, my son Isaac headed out for the Air Force. He's headed to boot camp for the military service that he enlisted in. And so last couple of days have been pretty busy, but I've had a couple of really good conversations with him, and I thought there were some lessons and ideas and things that I might be able to share with you today. And so I hope it's some things that will maybe get your mind thinking a little bit more about how to create the life that you were meant to live. Isaac had decided to enlist in the Air Force, and it was a tough decision for him. It was definitely one that was daunting. You know, when you think about the idea of leaving home for 4 years and going off and getting your life started, but doing it in a very structured environment. Now, as many of you know, he's heavily into fitness and mindset, and it was something that he had looked forward to. But as the moment came closer and closer, the nervousness kind of set in. But he's off and he's headed to boot camp in Texas. And, we had some really good conversations. I asked him if he was nervous, and he said, yeah, I'm pretty nervous. And it got us talking a little bit. And many of you remember from a podcast I had in the past that I shared a message that his base commander had given him when they swore him in. One of the comments that he made to all of these new recruits was that your greatness and your true potential will lie outside your comfort zone. And their job was to push them outside their comfort zone. Now, many of us probably could benefit quite a bit from being pushed outside our comfort zone because we don't necessarily have the strength and drive to push ourselves past our comfort zone. But, that had a really, really good lesson that I wanted to kind of share with you today and get you thinking, because, I'd like to modify that comment just a little to say, and maybe you've heard me say this before, that your best life, your greatest life, the version of your life where you are the best version of yourself, your most success, happiness, fulfillment, your best life lies 100% outside your comfort zone. And why do I say this? I say this because your comfort zone is that barrier that allows you to push past, our normal human nature of just being safe and protected and stable. And it allows you to push past that barrier so that you can grow. The goal in life should be to grow to the best version of yourself, to grow to the best of your abilities and your potential. And I really believe that all of us have greatness inside of us, but unless you push past your comfort zone, you'll never experience what that greatness can be. And, the bottom line is for you to grow, and you were built to grow. Ever since you were a child, you've learned and you've developed, and some of these things were developed because you didn't have a choice. You learned how to walk and how to talk and language and interaction and communication. But some skills and talents, the ones that are really needed to be able to create a life of greatness, they're areas that you need to push yourself to grow past. And that's how you unlock your true potential, is by overcoming challenges, by overcoming these situations where you feel comfortable. Because you're capable of great things, you just have to push yourself in order to do that. Now, being outside your comfort zone requires a few things, but one of the things that comes to mind for me the most is energy. It does require energy to push past your comfort zone, because motivation, energy, drive, passion, experience, those are all things that will help you, but energy is something that I believe can help to fuel your abilities, your desire, your persistence, and your intent, right? So what are some ways that you can create some energy? I listened to a really good podcast just the other day on some experts in these areas, because as always, I'm always looking for ways to be able to create more energy. And so just as a little bit of a reminder, maybe some tips and some hacks and strategies for you, I want to give you a few of those today. Now, you need to realize that energy always starts from the top down. Your brain. Your brain is one of the most consuming organs in your body. It consumes your energy, your nutrition, and everything else. And so it's important that you learn to feed your brain. You've got to be able to feed your brain both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, nutritionally. It's very important that you prioritize this. Now, why do I make such a big deal about that? Because, I've said before, you are not your mind. Your mind, your brain, it's a tool, and that tool is only as good as your maintenance on that tool. And so you have to actually have the intention to focus on creating a very powerful tool, your brain. And if you're not thinking about that, then you're not going to do it. So that's really important, and that's why I put it right at the top of the list. What are you doing to engage your mental faculties, your mind, your brain? And so that's very important. You can do things like, obviously, eat the right foods, drink a lot of water, find ways to be able to stimulate your mind. And the earlier you do that in the day, the more you're going to be ready to go. That's why I read in the morning. That's why meditation is good. That's why the right nutrition, and why most athletic or fitness or nutritional experts will tell you to drink a big glass of water right when you get out of bed, because your brain is made up of water. And so your brain is really important. The second thing I would mention is nutrition. Eating the right types of foods is not a conscious decision just to get in shape. Eating the right types of food is a decision that allows you to create energy and to sustain that energy. Sometimes we think, well, I don't have the motivation to be able to, eat the right foods or meal prep or diet. But what you have to realize is, by not making that decision, you're actually making the decision to have low energy and bad stamina and bad, mental and physical characteristics of your life. And it affects your mind just as much as it does your body. So good nutrition, good balanced nutrition, and like anything else, what you focus on, you'll get results in. Sometimes it's simply a matter of tracking your nutrition. Have you really sat down and listed out what you eat? When you do this, you'll find that you'll be more apt to create better nutritional habits. The next suggestion I have for energy is obviously exercise. You knew I was going to mention that, and so I will. And they've done some research through Stanford on different times of day. Now, all of us have different schedules, and you've got to do what you've got to do. But they've proven through science and through studies that getting some amount of exercise in the morning is the best way to ultimately, get this and listen carefully, help your sleep. If you exercise in the morning, it will help your sleep, because it helps to set your cortisol levels and things like that in your body. So getting exercise is important. I've also heard that the sweet spot is 11 minutes if you're going to go for a walk. I mean, obviously, the more you walk, the more you do things, the better. But if you can walk, go for a walk in between your tasks at work or school or the office or home. 11 minutes is that key benchmark. You want to get into 11 minutes a couple of times a day. And so exercise is key. I'm a big proponent of exercise. I think exercise will help you to generate energy. I think there's a huge connection between the mind and the body. And so exercise is something I will continue to be able to push. And I think if you haven't created some type of a lifestyle type ongoing exercise daily routine, I encourage you to do that, whatever it is, whether it's walking, running, weightlifting, yoga, exercise, whatever you do. The last suggestion I have for energy is sleep. Now, there's no magic number for sleep. There's so many of the gurus out there that'll tell you get up at 5 a.m. I'm just not a guy that's going to get up that early. There's only one 5 o'clock in my day, and it's the one at night, right? So the bottom line is, sleep is important, though, and there's so many things you can do to get proper sleep. And there's so many things I would encourage you to really think about and consciously, intentionally plan your sleep. Because there's the obvious things like eliminating the blue light. If you go to bed with your cell phone, or if you're on your cell phone right up until you go to bed and you wonder why you're not sleeping, that's the reason. You've got to be able to eliminate the blue light of your cell phone, your social media, your computer, and those types of things. Try to give yourself a barrier of 30 minutes to an hour. They say that an hour on your phone will cut 30 minutes off your melatonin production. And so even if you slept for 8 hours, if you have low melatonin, it's going to affect your quality of sleep. Sleep is one of those things that the quality of sleep is more important than the amount of sleep. And so cutting the blue light, making sure that your sleeping area is conducive for sleep. If you do work or watch TV or do things in your bedroom other than sleep, it's going to affect your quality of sleep. You need to do whatever you can to isolate and create an amazing environment. Also, eliminate the lights, cut the lights, being in the dark. I know some of you, we're not going to judge here. If you have trouble being in the dark, well then, at least minimize the types of light that you have in your room, but really create an environment, the temperature, the light, eliminating electronics, finding yourself in a peaceful state, giving yourself a buffer of 30 minutes to an hour before you sleep. Planning your sleep should be a very important, intentional, conscious effort that you make if you want to have more energy, instead of just being so exhausted by the end of the day you fall in bed and you try to sleep. That's an indirect, unconscious way of getting something that's probably the number one thing your body needs besides, water and nutrition. So I really want to encourage you, if you want to have more energy in order to push past your boundaries, if you want to have more energy to be able to push past your comfort zone, you've got to be able to feed your brain, focus on your brain, water, nutrition, exercise, sleep. Put these things into a daily routine. Get a daily routine. If you do that, then when your motivation's not there and your daily habits and your habits that you've established, they'll pick up the ball and they'll keep you going. Right now, I don't really think about whether I want to go to the gym or eat right or exercise because it's such a daily routine for myself. I encourage you to do the same thing. Here's the bottom line. Intention is the key. If you'd like to create your best life, and you've got to get outside your comfort zone, you will make a conscious effort to create more energy in your life. And there are many things that you already know that you can do. Maybe you haven't done them, but today is the day. Today's the day that you can start making those changes. And so I want you to, one more piece of advice I gave my son as he went into the Air Force. I said, listen, it's daunting. Thinking you're going to go into a pattern for 4 years and active service, and maybe you're at a job or you're in school or you're in a relationship or you're in business or something that it just seems like, everything's pretty overwhelming to you right now. I would give you the same advice I gave him, and that is don't focus on the problem, focus through the problem. Focus on the future, focus on your vision, because it's what you focus on gets more attention, grows. You have to feed your vision and your future and the end goal in order to get through these uncomfortable situations, these problems, these challenges, these obstacles that you have. It requires having a vision, as we've talked about before. You've got to be able to be clear on your vision. But I promise you that if you'll stop focusing on you and you stop focusing on the problem and the challenges and you start focusing through them and you don't look down, you look forward, you look up, you're going to find yourself growing. You're going to find yourself not wanting smaller problems, but wanting more strength to deal with your problems, because you're going to get bigger and bigger and you're going to have more and more success. That's my thought. That's my recommendation. And like I had the conversation with my son, I encourage you all to love getting outside your comfort zone. Admit that that's where you want to be. That's where your best life lives. And to do that, you need to create energy, create an intention to do that, and have a vision for your life. That's my message for today. I hope it's something that just gave you a little food for thought. Please share this episode. Share our podcast so that other people can learn as well and be part of this goal of personal development, financial education, and entrepreneurship. That's my message for today. I hope you have an amazing day. My name is George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind. Talk to you soon.